and understands that, despite the fact that he could have donated no less before, today's result is truly impressive. Reading through all the possible options, the student's choice falls on the last one. He's amused by the words about the humanoid form. In his opinion, it even sounds funny. He can't wait to try it out. Seconds later, the sphere of enlightenment appears in Charlie's hands. It hovers above his outstretched palm, shimmering with a sparkling blue light. The guy is intrigued. He grabs the ball with his hand and, holding on tightly, mercilessly smashes it to pieces. A tall column with a tone to match rises into the air, piercing the sky with lightning speed and just as mercilessly. It doesn't take much intelligence to understand that creatures exposed to his magical light are subject to certain effects. The main representatives of Charlie immediately begin to experience changes that are noticeable even to the eye. Their limbs rapidly stretch out, taking on a slightly different shape. Looking at the altered locusts, delight appears in Charlie's eyes. He cannot contain it inside, admiringly declaring that it is incredible. The creatures are truly becoming humanized, and are no longer ordinary insects, but super elite locust people. In addition to the humanoid body, they now have the beginnings of intelligence. But that's not all. The happy owner rejoices with such a great power of faith, he cannot look at his official brainchildren without delight. But he can't rejoice for long. The phone rings and the guy is called by his class teacher. The man says that they received a call from the Imperial Academy, expressing their willingness to conduct a second interview. This will happen tomorrow, so they can't afford to lose face. Charlie is happy. The next day, Charlie is approached by a classmate asking about his sphere's affairs and offering help with resources from his family's demigods. The boy turns to his classmate with a smile, asking about the fragments of the divine cores. He needs them right now to move from the 7th level up to the 10th. He replies that it can be obtained, but even taking into account their good relations, it will cost a decent amount. The minimum order amount starts from 400 million. Charlie expresses his understanding out loud, but silently remarks that if he had that amount of money now, he wouldn't have to bother with the core any longer. The boy smiles brightly, saying that there is another option. This amount can be replaced with 1,000 super elite undead. The interlocutor listens to the proposal to the end and only speaks then. He returns the smile to his classmate, accepting the voiced offer. For him, it is not something out of the ordinary. The guy is puzzled, realizing to himself that he sold too cheaply. He should have asked not for 1,000 skeleton knights, but for an exchange for the bone collector. Tom enters the office, informing Charlie that a representative of the Imperial Academy is already waiting for him in the teacher's room and that he needs to hurry. The schoolboy obeys and follows the indicated route. And when the door to the teacher's room opens, the representative sitting in front of him has a look of surprise on his face. He did not expect to see Charlie again. The man is perplexed as to how someone he had recently rejected managed to obtain an internal recommendation in such a short period of time. But he is not too upset. The test will be difficult. The mustachioed man with an unpleasant look, according to etiquette, says that today he will test the student on behalf of his academy and asks if he has any questions. The young man denies. The mission is to invade a border town of one of the few civilizations that has a well-thought-out system of hierarchy and career, which will be reflected in Charlie. Once the system recognizes the intruder as a demon destroyer, the most powerful masters of the city will declare a hunt for him and will not rest until they find and eliminate the source of the danger. From the above follows the goal that the person undergoing the test must achieve, namely, the killing of at least one master who guards the aforementioned city. The guy politely asks if he can find out how many troops and defenders there are in the city. Usopp answers, despite the fact that the city is small and located almost on the outskirts, it is home to about 10 million people, of which more than 10% are masters, and there are only 5 defenders. With only an hour to prepare, Charlie approaches Tom and asks to exchange his class points for 3 first-level sacred artifacts. The man agrees, offering to choose for himself. Sometime later, the schoolboy stands next to his divine core, blown by its magical streams of energy threads. He takes a shard from his inventory and, bringing it close to a similar but greater object, inserts it inside like a puzzle, upgrading the divine core to level 10. He still continues to stand in front of the huge crystal, absorbing its light, happy that he will now be able to load 3 more sacred artifacts into the core. The first-level sacred artifact, Poison Glands, allows some of the major representatives to have a chance to gain the attribute, Poison and/or Poison Glands. The first-tier sacred artifact, Earth Core, allows some of the core representatives to have a certain probability of gaining the Earth attribute and additional protection. A level 1 sacred artifact. The Goblin Shortbow is both a sacred artifact and a divine weapon, allowing representatives to summon it, and the owner can do the same. The system notifies you about the completion of the download, which is successful. In Charlie's sphere, beams of light flare up and rise into the air in several places at once, dividing into multiple rays, and his main representatives enthusiastically echo and get lost in them. Most demon bug creatures gain poison glands, half of the fallen locusts gain stronger defenses, and almost all locust humans can now use the Goblin Bow. An hour later, the schoolboy stands in front of the man from the academy, who is waving his sausage-like fingers around a red sphere. As soon as Charlie touches it, a teleportation will occur. The guy doesn't even hesitate, decisively approaching the teleporting object and covering the smooth, cool surface with his warm palm. The sphere immediately flares up with a brighter light. The same waves begin to emanate from it, passing through the young man's body, but enveloping him. His eyes widen from the unexpectedness of the sensations he experiences. As promised, he and the main representatives are teleported to the outskirts of the required city. The guy deftly lands, touching the ground with his hand and knee. The locust is nearby. The system warns that Charlie is a violator. If he does not leave this world now, he will be recognized as a demon destroyer and destroyed. But there is no time to think about everything. It happens almost immediately. Since Charlie supposedly refused to leave this world, he is recognized as the Demon King of Locusts, and his level is assessed. The system opens his status window, and the guy is amazed at what he sees. The student is also curious if he can view information about the 2 newly appeared heroes among the Locust Man species, and he selects the appropriate option. The creature's system status window raises questions for him. The level indicated is 60, and the guy is interested in what this means, because it is difficult to judge levels without comparison and explanation. One of his humanoid representatives flies up to the schoolboy and informs the owner that they are being attacked by local creatures. The guy summons one of his largest specimens, wanting to go to the scene as soon as possible to assess the enemy's strength. One of the local adventurers, sword in hand, looks at the horde of locusts swarming above him, wondering where such a huge number of demons could come from. His comrade swings at the locusts, saying that Thorn should be happy that they were in the right place at the right time. The more demons, the higher the reward, and they need the money now. A ghost-like entity floats through the air, holding a crystal in its hand-like appendages that appears to be a fragment of the divine core. She swims up to the girl in light robes, who is the Sage of Water, and hands over the shard, who smiles brightly, thanking her little assistant. There is another girl standing nearby. Only her clothes are red-orange tones, and flames are flying out of her scepter. She's cursing at the locusts, threatening to destroy them. She's a fire mage. One of the adventurers, looking back slightly, asks his colleagues not to lose their vigilance and to watch their surroundings. 4 young men stoically endure the onslaught of locusts, 2 of whom are now destroying demons, allowing their friends to rest. Charlie flies up to the scene from behind on his giant body, becoming an unwitting witness to this scene. He turns to the Eye of Identification for help. A small individual sits almost under his ear, ready to faithfully carry out the master's orders. Through the skill, Charlie gains information about a guy in golden armor with a sword in his hand. His name is Thorn. He's a Dragonblood warrior in his second incarnation and uses a divine weapon. The guy notices that all 4 have the same emblems. The only difference is that Thorn's is silver, and everyone else's are bronze. This leads to a very primitive conclusion. This man named Thorn may be none other than the leader of the quartet. The said one curses. Noticing that there are too many demons, he gives the order to his fellow adventurers to prepare for retreat. Still sitting on the locust, Charlie suggests that his charges first test the abilities of potential opponents. The humanized locusts rush towards them and fall to the ground. The adventurers recoil in horror. Considering the specimen to be at least of the 3rd rank, they need to retreat. The locusts stand firm in front of the fearful humans, and Thorn tells his comrades to leave, declaring that he will try to buy them at least a little time. He swings his sword at the enemy using Giant Slash. On the chitinous body, this blow only leaves a scratch without causing serious damage. The guy looks at the confused locust and realizes that it is too strong. It seems that he doesn't have a single chance. The humanoid quickly comes to his senses, kicking the shoulder and thereby knocking the sword out of the human hand. The guy is thrown to the side, and he squints in pain. Meanwhile, another individual pursues the rest of the team, promising that they will not leave, and the people look around in fear and confusion at the one they believe to be a demon. As a result, all the adventurers end up tied up. The guys' faces are angry, and the girls are rather upset and surprised. In the schoolboy standing in front of them, they see none other than a real demon, laughing maliciously right in their faces. One of the guys growls cruelly, but not without a bit of fear and confusion, at Charlie to stay put and not dare approach the team. He is touched by unflattering words, and unable to restrain himself, he speaks out, feeling dissatisfied. He says that if the adventurers want to live, they will have to answer all the questions, and first asks what the locust looks like in their eyes, standing nearby and a little behind. The same guy stubbornly and fearlessly says that he is not going to answer the dirty demon's questions. The locust acts on its own, striking at anyone who dares to insult its master, and a red flash passes through them, causing them to bend over. Charlie turns angrily to his subordinate, asking why he killed the man, when all he wanted was to scare the adventurers. The tied-up girls scream in fear and press even closer to each other, recoiling further from the corpse of their former comrade, among other things. Charlie tells them to be quiet and decides to use the curse locust, which obediently appears nearby. Thorn glares at his opponent, asking what he wants from them. Charlie leans towards the prisoner and repeats his question again about how he looks in their eyes, and he becomes scared. The leader of the adventurer team gives in and begins to describe Charlie to them as looking like a locust, with huge eyes and very long antennae on his head. The schoolboy himself now understands that he looks like a locust man to the inhabitants of this world, and assumes that this world deliberately disfigures the invaders. The guy smiles sweetly at his captive, praising him and telling him to continue answering questions just as well in the future. But he becomes more puzzled than before. 3 hours later, Charlie unties a puzzled Thorn, saying that all questions are exhausted because he learned everything he wanted from the adventurers. The boy, constantly looking back, runs away from the schoolboy in horror, silently planning to quickly inform his guild about the appearance of the army of demons. Thorn runs down the road towards the city, and Charlie climbs onto his locust to be able to track the route. This is his main goal, he apologizes, saying that he cannot allow him to enter the city yet. He needs to lie here until the schoolboy completes his task. Locust strikes Thorn in the back, and his eyes widen in surprise. If we are to believe his words, then there are millions of adventurers living in the city. It would be stupid to attack them head-on and go at them with only 3 of them, even though the locusts are, as they say here, 3rd rank. Hearing a strange sound, the boy looks down. The green goblins are smiling at him, and Charlie thinks that this is better than nothing. The creatures kneel before him, and the schoolboy realizes that most of them are ordinary low-level creatures, but the leader has managed to reach level 62. He also rose to the 3rd rank, and Charlie wonders how he was able to acquire a profession, and the goblin answers this question by saying that he ate many profession fragments left by adventurers. The young man's eyes reflect happiness when he has a hunch that it means that here you can get professions by eating shards, which means that his locusts can do the same. The boy raises his hand, attracting the attention of the swarm, and tells it to keep a close eye on any adventurers it spots and bring back any shards it can get its hands on. 3 days later, dozens of shards of glass, shining in the light, lie before the schoolboy. He looks at them with a critical eye and is about to begin implementing his plan. All the found artifacts are thrown into the air at the wave of Charlie's hands, shrouded in pink ribbons of smoke. A system window appears in front of him with several options for choosing professions such as mage, warrior, fighter, and archer, and without thinking, the guy chooses the last one. This option is ideal for the divine creature special locust, and the magma demon locust will instantly gain the above-mentioned profession. Charlie feels joy. His idea worked. He tells his new archer to continue to develop his skills. Now he is not just a 3rd-rank demon, but a demon with the archer profession. A locust flies up to the guy and informs him that they have found a cave nearby, but the pressure coming from inside it has stopped the reconnaissance advance. The guy asks to take him there, and after some time, they are already standing in front of that very cave. After feeling the aura, Charlie realizes that it is filled with particles of divine power. This interests him, and he is going to find out who is hiding in this cave. Charlie walks inside with a pair of human-type locusts and walks up to the edge of the cliff. They stand on either side of their god-like bodyguards. An interesting sight appears before the eyes of the 3 pairs of eyes. In front of them, in the lowland, lies a dragon, chained. its eyes closed. The guy remembers that during lessons, teachers mentioned that in some worlds, its inhabitants often sealed opponents who were beyond their strength. Apparently, this is just the case. God commands his representatives to activate the Eye of Initiation. They do so. This black dragon's name is Elphys. His level is 103, but his state is sealed. Originally, he was 149. The dragon's profession is rebel, and his talent is blood. The creature's skill is Breath of Darkness, and at this stage, nothing else is available, and the dragon, as if sensing that its description has been fully studied, opens its amber eyes. The locust makes an inarticulate sound and, as if enchanted, looks into the bottomless abyss of huge and bright eyes, and then performs a completely strange action. She moves closer to the cliff, towards the giant, and Charlie tries to stop his subordinates with his voice. They turn around, puzzled and enveloped in a red aura. It becomes clear that it is not easy for them to control themselves. They are literally torn apart, unable to choose. A voice comes out of the dragon's mouth, asking how dare a man interrupt his meal, and threatening to devour not only his flesh, but his soul as well. The boy manages to regain control of his representatives and tells them to run as the dragon opens its huge mouth. The powerful attack not only causes flames to appear in the cave, but explosions to erupt, filling the space with suffocating smoke. Charlie didn't run far, because as soon as the smoke cleared, he appeared from behind the stone wall and cheerfully asked the monster if he had finished. The dragon opens its mouth again, wanting to hit the enemy with its powerful clot of energy, asking how dare the man tease him, and promising that it will never forgive this. Charlie runs away again, confused, realizing that he will have to run even further this time because the clot looks more destructive. Indeed, it takes twice as long, but after it has passed, the guy approaches the now puzzled dragon and says that he came here not to insult, but to help. The giant says that he immediately recognized the trick in the man who came to him, so he had better leave here immediately, otherwise he will truly be eaten. But Charlie does not even think of moving. He raises his bow to the ready, asking if the monster really thinks he can do this, and offers, if so, to test what he is capable of. The schoolboy places an arrow on the bowstring and, taking aim, releases it, calling out the full name of the black dragon and his profession, a smile playing on the boy's lips. But the arrow flies off the mighty scaly skin, as if from a ricochet. Elphys echoes this action. His armor is invincible. Such attacks cannot even scratch him. But the schoolboy does not despair, getting ready to try again, this time fishing out a sword from his inventory, and already rushing with it at full speed towards his formidable opponent, his face no less formidable. He delivers a wide horizontal strike along the monster's belly, leaving behind an equally wide, bright flash. But even this does not cause much harm to the mighty skin. It is difficult to even consider the blow as a scratch. After it, only dust remains. Charlie doesn't give up and attacks from above, pouring magic into the weapon. He considers the dragon stubborn. Apparently, they really won't be able to talk normally until a wound is inflicted. Releasing 10,000 points of divine power, the boy makes several cross strikes in the air. The dragon opens its huge mouth. Finally, Charlie's actions are crowned with success because he manages to inflict at least one wound, the most striking proof of which is the splashes of blood. The dragon again showers himself with his titles, calling out his full name and begins to ask how some human dared to hurt him, but he fails to finish. Charlie points the tip of his blade at his opponent, saying that he has a lot of other weapons in reserve, and if he continues to talk about nothing, he may lose his life. The dragon doesn't need to be told many times, and with a noticeable dampening of ardor, he asks what Charlie wants. He replies that he has a dream. He wants to kill one of the heroes who defend the city, but he is not strong enough yet, so he wants to ask his interlocutor for help. The dragon says that he can hardly help, because for hundreds of years he has been wearing shackles, which are a divine artifact created specifically for Elphys. Neither the dragon's magic nor Charlie can destroy them, and the guy asks if the chain is really an artifact. The dragon replies that it is, because he never lies. The guy has a great idea, and with a sly smile, he takes out the hungry wolf artifact from his inventory. Charlie holds a golden orb with carvings that begins to glow as he speaks, and he calls his puppy, letting him know that dinner is served. One of the links of the chain takes on the color of hot metal, and then it seems to flare up, covered in fire. The dragon is puzzled by what he saw. He would never have thought that something like this could happen so easily, because before he himself had made efforts day and night. Meanwhile, the red-hot and burning link of the chain that binds the mighty dragon melts completely, splitting the shackles into two parts. The dragon cries out impatiently, unable to believe that the man's plan worked, and he literally commands him to destroy all the other chains. Charlie's gaze becomes extremely serious as he asks his interlocutor to repeat what he said. The monster says that now is not the time for questions, and without a second thought, he repeats his order. Charlie remains impartial, saying that he showed all sincerity and destroyed one of the chains that had kept the dragon free for hundreds of years. He asks what he decided to respond with then. The dragon, who is eager to fully restore his former power, asks what the guy wants, and, remembering, makes a promise to kill the hero for him. He longs for freedom. Charlie smiles slyly, pretending to look thoughtful. He says that he has changed his mind, respectfully addressing the monster. Now he wants him to serve him for 100 years after saving him. The dragon is outraged by this condition, and in a rage, he says that he will never bow down to anyone. Frowning, the guy reminds that he can either save the monster or kill it. If it doesn't obey him right now, it will become another step on the path to perfection. He has heard that dragons are walking treasures and wonders how good a weapon his bones would make. The dragon is puzzled. He is not pleased with this thought. It may come true. After thinking a little more, Elphys decides to submit, and, taking an official oath to her future liberator, asks to remove the remaining shackles from him. He doesn't want to feel the weight of those terrible chains on himself for another second, especially when light appears in the pitch darkness. But Charlie is no slouch. He offers to sign the contract. The dragon is outraged when he sees the contract. He believes that Charlie wants to make a slave out of him in this way, but his relatives have never been and never will be. He continues to insist, but something appears that interests the giant. Charlie offers to supply him with a crystal of the attribute of darkness as a snack after his release, because the dragon is very weak. Elphys' stomach rumbles in confirmation of his own desire. The black dragon is embarrassed by his own feeling of hunger. In the end, he gives in. The temptation is too great. The prerogative seems better than rotting here until the end of his days. Charlie fishes out the artifact from his inventory again, summoning the hungry wolf, who is already eager to continue his meal with the chain-shaped artifact. Here, the last part of the shackles heats up and with a crash breaks into two parts. Everyone is satisfied and full of anticipation. A furious firestorm rises to the ceiling of the cave. A thunderous dragon voice engulfs the stone interior. Elphys announces to the space around her the long-awaited acquisition of freedom. In the guild building of the city where Charlie is to carry out the task, a council of the greats is gathered for this occasion. A mustachioed man with slicked-back hair talks about releasing Elphys. He assumes that the monster should be weakened now, so he suggests uniting and finishing it off.